Hey y'all, it's Motha
Knows.
Knows, and we back.
And knowing. And we definitely know about this topic.
No. We know.
Probably know more than we need to know.
Right. Because we be birthing some babies.
Birthing them, girl.
Feeding them.
Rearing them.
Weaning them. All of it.
All of it. And in the process, trying to get mother snatch back a little bit.
Right? trying to hold on.
You know?
Like literally, I feel like my life every day is like I'm just holding on.
Girl, especially the early years. Well, no, let me take that back. It's all of it.
Yeah. But right now, I'm like, I feel like
when they get older, it's activity after activity after activity.
Yeah. Right. Homework. Just holding on. But today we're just going to be talking about all things postpartum. And you know what we've learned, I think, through the process of giving birth and just trying to recover,
trying to hold on,
because it really is a journey to recovery. You know?
It's a journey.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you don't know, right?
Right.
So like going through it, you're learning along the way a lot of times, and you fumbling, then you learn, then right. So I feel like this conversation is something that is going to help other women just, be
aware. Yeah. Just aware of maybe like some of the things that could happen. Because, every story is a little different, or maybe a lot different.
And that's one of the things about postpartum, right? It's like
it could look different for
every single person.
Yeah.
And yes, there's like, similarities, but to your point, it's like a fingerprint. Like, your own body pushed out a human being, and now it has to get back to itself in the process of doing other things, right? So what are those other things that it's doing to get back to some sort of normalcy,'ll say.
And I'll say, disclaimer, neither one of us have had a C-section, so we can't really speak to that recovery. Yeah. But I've been told that it's
a little rougher.
Yeah. You know, just the pain of having to heal open wound.
Yeah.
So
that's surgery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least, we're pushing it out of something that's,
pushing it on out.
And we push that we have. But yeah, I think the first thing I think about is being kind of like a deer in headlights that first day when the doctors come to you and they're like checking you out for discharge. And they're like, all right, here's your baby. Like, here's everything.
Discharge out the hospital.
I just remember my husband and I looking at each other like, all right, so we're doing this. Like, we're really doing this thing. It's just the two of us.
Just the two of us.
You kind of have this feeling like any day now someone's going to follow behind us and come and help us. But no, it's just
somebody going to show up.
Right. Like, come on, doc.
Walk us through it.
You just going to really let us walk out with the baby.
But especially your first child, right? Because
for sure.
You read the books and you read but there is nothing like that nurse walking into your car, helping you snap the baby. At first, the fear of just snapping a newborn baby into the car seat. And you're like, okay, am I doing it right? Like, I don't want to.
Right.
Are they comfortable? Like, what, like, okay. Then that ride home, and I remember like with Ariana, my first child, like the ride home, like every little bump, I was on Jamaris, like
it was quiet.
Drive this car safely.
Here go Keith. Here was Keith. 10 and 2.
Girl, that was Jamaris.
Like every turn was slow and
get us home safe.
And I'm looking at him like, don't hurt my baby. And not for nothing, like you're kind of sore down there, so like the bumps and stuff, you're like, ooh, like come on now, slow it down.
Yeah, that first ride home with the first baby is just like, I'm really doing this.
I'm doing this. Like
I have to keep this human alive,
right? And that's really the thought. Like I really am. Like it's me and my husband, and we're on our own to keep this child
to keep
alive.
This person alive. Like. We're all they have. This is it. And so I in that way where we talk about like the uniqueness of each person's journey, I feel like that one right there, everyone is like, oh yeah, girl, that first ride home.
Right.
Now when you have more, you kind of you learn the ropes, and because I was loose by the time Milani my third got here. Like, come on, child.
Yeah, and with our hospital experience was so bad that we was like, okay, like we actually discharged early.
Yeah, I discharged.
Okay. Like, give me the paperwork.
Yeah. With my second and third, I was like, y'all got me for 24 hours and then I'm going home.
Yeah.
Like,
so
call the doc, make it happen, run your tests.
Right.
We're leaving after 24. And it was more like a good 30 because discharge is always a process.
It takes a while. Yeah. And actually our discharge, we didn't get cleared until about 11 o'clock at night, and we were still
like, come on,
we're going. That hospital was just
so let's pause there. Postpartum is such a sensitive process. The mom is sore. She's barely, let's just keep it real, like walking, bending over, like
they gotta.
It's minimal what you can do.
Wheel you out on a wheelchair.
You're wearing a diaper, right?
You have a diaper on, yep.
I want hospitals to get back to that place where it's like we really have to care for mom and child, not just child, mom and child. I was fortunate with Ariana when we were in Nebraska. One of the best hospitals, hands down. I think it got like awarded like one of the top in the
it was a great hospital
in the country.
Yeah, like your room was phenomenal.
Like a double sized bed, like
double sized bed, and then there was an actual bed on the other side.
The room was huge.
Where I laid while you and Damaris were in the double bed.
Yeah,
like it was nice.
The food was good,
and Charlotte was actually really nice too. We had her at Presbyterian, and I actually really enjoyed that experience.
But let's honor moms, like in the process they just went to keep populating the world, right? Like, let's just give them, I think, more comfort in the hospital. My
second experience felt more like just like a churning out factory. Yeah. Like it was like all the rooms.
The nurses barely wanted to be there.
We had to wait, in order to transition from the intake room to our real room. Like it took hours because the room was this big. It was like the rooms were tiny
for the dads, and also too, we have to make sure that the dads have a place to rest because they're there with us,
and it's important that they are comfortable because they
can get rest because they have to help us,
right? Like we
come
need
on, America, like better rooms, better process.
I need your hand. I'm about to push. I was like,
yeah. So. Getting back to first ride home, right? Yeah. I think that we can all just say that was a very highly anxious, scary ride for everyone involved, except for the baby, of course.
Right. Who was probably
asleep. Baby probably scared too. Like, I'm in this new place,
my baby was asleep, both of them.
Mine too, but
yeah. But I mean, it's a new experience for everybody involved. To your point about being in the car and the bumps and you're healing yourself. That physical recovery, is hands down. I think, I think that we can all kind of imagine what it feels like, but it really is an interesting journey, from going from being in control of your body, being able to,
just walk and bend,
holding fluids and things. Like you just, once you give birth, it takes a while to recover and your muscles are weaker,
like everything has been stretched to allow this person to come into
out.
The world.
Right. So like you said, you're wearing diapers.
Yeah.
You are, I had a pad on my bed, not just my diaper, but the little bed pad.
Yep.
Just the soreness of everything, not just, that canal, but your legs, your core, because again, you carried a baby for, 10 months. And so you stretched out and then all of a sudden, your baby is gone. But one thing I think the myth that a lot of young girls are now getting to see because of social media is that your stomach still,
it's going to take time to go down.
It takes time because you stretched out for 9 months. Yeah. So it's going to be there for a little bit. And I mean, not everybody, but for the most part.
I mean, that first week.
Yeah. For the most
even
part.
If it's not, okay, some are bigger than others, right? Yeah, some stomachs will have more swollen areas than others, but every single woman, you push out a baby, at least for the first few days, you'll have a little bulge there. Yeah. They go. Because I mean, I don't even think I knew that with Ari. I was like, wait a minute, my stomach is still sticking out. Okay, and they're like, it's gonna take time to, get down and massage it and
exactly
do all those things. But to your point, the physical recovery, how you wash and bathe yourself, right? So, of course you can't take baths and stuff like that for a while. If you had stitches, that's also another thing that you have to be careful about. And so just washing yourself too, it was a whole process. Taking everything off and how you have to gently step out of it. Right. Yeah.
For me, I had a chair in my my shower.
Okay. In the shower. Yeah. Okay.
So a chair I could sit down.
Yeah.
And my husband could, help me. And then, you know. But one other thing too is whoever is helping you after the recovery, y'all get real intimate and close.
Oh yeah.
Like, you don't even care. You're just like, help me.
And I mean, especially if it's your dude, right? Like
of
your
course,
husband,
yeah,
like,
but I'm
because
saying,
I mean, they saw pretty
right,
much.
right. But I'm saying, like, if it's like your mom, or
oh yeah,
like if it's like a sister or a friend, even, you know, if you have those relationships where it wasn't the father of your child, you know, you get real intimate.
But there's something that's trending on social media where grandmothers and
and
moms and grandmothers are
come.
stepping up and help, you know,
Yeah.
at least for a week,
Yeah.
to be there and help cook and help clean the house and let mom take a nap, let dad take a nap, because
Right.
you're exhausted
Right.
after this baby gets there, because it's around the clock care and your body isn't used to that.
And you're literally keeping this child alive.
Yeah.
So they have to eat, poop, sleep.
Right.
Eat, poop, sleep.
Yeah. And so that's something that for my daughters and even my son,
yeah,
son, you know, I know you're not anywhere close to being married, but just let your wife know
I will be there.
Mommy's going to be there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make it a practice in that physical recovery stage. I'm going to be there for my kids, just to help them, you know, keep the house together, do the laundry, cook, like get some rest, because we don't get enough rest in the recovery phase. Like we're walking around exhausted, like can barely see.
Zombies.
And we have to keep this baby alive, you know? So
yeah.
I think that I hope our generation just, you know, kind of just listens to that and takes that charge to say, let me at least be here for a week. I'm gonna be there longer than a week.
Yeah.
But, you know.
And thankfully our mom, you know, she was like, I'm
was
there for
a week, yeah.
You know, I think mommy,
because I was in Nebraska, so it was long distance.
Yeah, it was tough.
Yeah.
But then she was there for a little bit longer than a week, though, I thought. Okay, I was there for longer.
You were there, yeah, because you were there before and then after, yeah.
Yeah. But I think it might be a little bit different with sons. That's an interesting point you bring up.
Yeah.
Because I think about the fact that with my daughters, they're gonna be like, you know, my mom is gonna be there, like, and that's how I was, you know, my mom is gonna be here. But it might be a little bit of a different dynamic for sure. So
yeah, because my son's wife will have her mom there, but she's gonna have to slide over.
Well, I wouldn't. Would you have wanted that from your husband's mom?
Yeah, I wouldn't care.
Like if I had to slide over that energy.
What I'm saying, I mean, like, of course I'm joking.
No, I'm just asking.
But like, if my mother-in-law had the ability to be there with mommy, like that first week at the house, yeah, like that's what I mean. Like not in a hospital room.
Okay.
But like when the baby gets home,
yeah.
Like we're both here. We're both helping.
Okay.
Yeah, slide on over.
Don't do that.
Lovingly, respectfully slide over. We both here to pitch in.
Yeah,
to do,
no, for sure. That
in the hospital room.
The hospital is a little.
Well, I'm not talking about the hospital room.
Okay.
The hospital room, I would understand. Like his wife wants her mom. Absolutely. Hopefully, anyway. Hopefully they have that relationship. I don't know, but hopefully, like she wants her mom there, and of course, I have to respect that. That's her baby, bringing a baby into the world.
Yeah.
But I'm at the house. And while you're at the hospital, I'm getting the house, you know, clean and set up, and like so you can be welcomed in with a meal. Like I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
Cause you just be ready to you know, I'm good at what I talking about. Slide over in the hospital room.
I'm trying to gauge it. You giving the I'm gonna be there energy
at the house.
And she might give you the no you won't energy.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Like you got some years to you got some years to get that through your head and in your heart.
I'm at the house. I can understand the hospital room.
Anyway, another thing I think about is the hormonal recovery and regulation. Like it's like on 10.
Yeah.
When you come out, it's like a euphoric feeling after you push the baby out, you know, and you're like kind of on a high. And you even have to be reminded, I think, sometimes of how exhausted you are and you need to go to bed because like you're just excited. You're, you know, like especially for your first, it's like this whole new being, you know, you've anticipated, thought about all the things and how they'll come out, what they'll look like, how they'll be, and you're just excited. So you have to be reminded like, okay, number one, for those who had an epidural, you're on an epidural high.
You got an epidural high.
But number two, your hormones are also raging out of control. So that's, you know, it really does kind of play with you a bit.
Yes, because I was on a high and then I got home and the fear set in, right? And then when you talk about hormonal rebalancing, we call this whole topic like the postpartum, phase, right? Because it's after birth. But in that hormonal balancing, your emotional regulation,
all of that.
With my first, when you and mommy left, actually no, y'all were still there, and I started crying because I was already
remember. Like, girl,
like I was crying all the time because I was thinking about y'all leaving, and I was like, I'm out in Nebraska by myself with my husband and this baby.
Remember when we went to the airport and you broke down in the airport? Daddy was like, I'm just so happy about.
That's when Daddy was there because mommy had left. Yeah. Then Daddy came. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I did break down because child.
Yeah. Daddy was like, I'm just so happy about how close y'all are. But I know in the back of his mind, he's like, she all right? Because I'm the only one here.
Can I do this? Can I give her what she needs? And no,
because I'm getting on that airplane. Like you had a good.
Did I?
I held you for a while.
Like first my mom gone, now my sister. Like child, I don't know if we gonna make it. Yeah, like,
but I understood.
But I didn't have the education around baby blues, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm crying, and I understand like this is a part of your body, your hormones rebalancing, right. And so it's up and down, like crying, literally nonstop. And so I hope that now with all of the like social media, just information out there that women are more aware of, this is a possibility.
Right.
And it's nothing's wrong with you because my husband was like, are you okay? Right. Like, is everything okay? Yeah. Like he didn't know how to take it.
Yeah. It's just like you said, hormone regulation.
Yeah.
For me, when I had my first daughter, it was a month before the pandemic. So in my mind, I had this beautiful, blissful idea of what my postpartum experience was going to be. Mommy, daughter, yoga, like going to the park, having friend dates. And it was none of that. It was me and my husband and my baby, and my family would visit here and there. But like I had a new baby and I didn't know what this pandemic was. And I was like, y'all can't come.
Right.
Like, I want y'all here, but y'all not coming. Or if you do, put that mask
inside the house
and keep it on.
The mask.
Not with my firstborn baby, you won't. So it was like a lot of anxiety and stress, and I didn't realize that I was depressed through that.
Yeah.
My depression shows up like I know that I'm high functioning, so I try to do a whole bunch of stuff. But what happens with me is I can't finish any of it. Like I start a whole bunch of things, and that's what I was doing through my postpartum journey. Was like excited, gung ho. But then kind of like a steady
fizzle, just fizzled out, yeah.
And I was very even and flat. Like there was no like up and
down. Okay,
it
gotcha.
was just like really like a monotone.
That's how I was with Jameson, feeling. And I didn't know I was going through postpartum depression with him. Because again, like I'm like, I just got baby blues, the past 2 weeks, and then like 2-3 months later, it's like it's still here.
Yep.
Yeah. And so again, like I feel like we have to, of course, prepare our daughters and even our son to be aware of these are the changes that could show up.
Yeah.
Don't be alarmed, but just be aware that this could happen. But also too, just all women out there, right? Young women coming up and starting families, like just making sure that we are there to give that reality check to them. Like, this is not a bad thing. It's just, like you said, it's a journey. It's a part of the process.
It's the experience.
It's just natural. Like your body is coming back to itself. So there's going to be some ebbs and flows.
And don't get me wrong. There are beautiful, extremely beautiful
moments.
A
beautiful life
newborn
right here.
Baby that you have waited for, you know, and it's amazing.
And they're here safe.
You're learning them.
Right.
And, they're smiling at you for the first time and all that stuff. So it's incredible. But it's just a journey.
It's just a journey, yeah.
One thing that helped me with my hormone regulation, I know there's a lot of research out there that, like it may be the placebo effect or we don't know what the true benefits are, but I encapsulated my placenta both times.
Yep.
And I feel like it was very helpful. Now, it could have been a placebo effect.
It could have been.
But for me, in my, my psyche, I was taking my placenta pills. And it helped, and I also too, I had an incredible midwife who was certified in encapsulation, and she created mother's broth for me too, and that was like it really kind of like it gave you a boost.
So when you were going through like your flat times and feeling like you needed a boost, you felt like when you took it, it kind of helped to revive you a little bit.
Yeah.
Now it it doesn't keep it away completely because you did go through that process.
Yeah,
but it was it could have been worse without it, maybe.
Right.
Right.
And like there's hormone rebalancing.
Yeah.
Right. You know, your body is going through ebbs and flows and shifts. So, you know, there's going to be moments where it might resurface again. But, you know, I had those pills, and I feel like my placenta pills help.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that process. Yeah. And I didn't do it. I would have, you know, like I don't think I researched enough about it.
Yeah.
And then once Mother saw that cost, I was like,
it wasn't that bad.
How much was it? Well, I ain't going.
It was probably in the ballpark of $300.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
300?
$300-400. Yeah.
Okay, that's not bad.
That's not bad. Like in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to be insensitive to, you know, to everyone has different.
That's not bad though.
You know, but I don't think in the grand scheme of things it's horrible.
I just didn't. Yeah, I don't think I researched it enough. Because so a big thing for me was the water birth, right? Like I wanted to have a water birth, and once that fell flat, I was like, I was deflated. You
had a whole
plan written out,
like to the T.
That didn't nobody read but me. That no one read but me.
I mean, but you think about it, you can plan all day, but your baby is going to dictate your experience, really,
and your knowledge. Because with Ari, had I known that I was just in early labor, that I don't need to rush to the hospital, that's an hour away.
Because we were there for what? Before you were like pushing,
and I was only pushing because they gave me Pitocin at that time.
Right. How long were we there?
It was about a good 15 hours.
Yeah.
I could have just stayed at home, but you know. So things did change. And I do think like you brought up C-section. If you have a C-section, vaginal birth, the hormonal rebalancing might be different. If you had Pitocin or if you had an epidural, like which I had for all three of mine, because after I had it with Ari, because I needed it at the Pitocin. The other two, I was like, I'm not about to feel nothing now. Yeah. After I know how it feels the first time, you know, with an epidural.
I got you.
So.
Yeah, my first one, I did not have an epidural because she came so fast that it was like
I was on the road like, wait a minute, no way.
She literally, y'all,
because I was 3 hours away from you.
It was 3 pushes and she was here. Now that third push, that ring of fire push, was like, ah!
Yeah, I can imagine.
And Keith was like, "Is she okay? Is she okay?" But I mean, when I tell you that ring of fire,
I can imagine, child.
I can still feel it. So I didn't have an epidural with her. And I really honestly wouldn't have had an epidural with my second child, but she was like, I mean, I have never in my life experienced pain like that. I have a very high tolerance for pain because I have torn my ACLs 3 times. I've had surgeries. You're a
soccer player.
I'm an athlete. Like they put me to sleep and they've like manipulated my knee with scar tissue. Like I know what it feels like to be in pain. But when I tell y'all the contractions that girl gave me, and even with Amina with no epidural, they were not that bad. Anaya's contractions were like, I don't know what this is. I don't know how my body, I don't know. But on the way to the hospital, because we actually went to the hospital with Anaya, they discharged us, and then we came back that day. So they discharged us early morning that day. I went home. And then by that afternoon, my contractions were like getting worse. And I called my husband. I was like, I think we need to go. So he had to come home from work. And then we had to go back to Durham. And this is like a 35-40 minute drive from where I live. Bruh. That ride, I'm holding on. You know that thing?
Wow, no, I was doing it like that.
You know that thing in the car? I'm like,
really?
Yes. And I'm like, you know.
Did they go around the back today?
The contractions, yes. I mean, it was encompassing everything, like back.
That's how my contractions were,
and it was so intense. So by the time I got to the hospital, it was like, I need y'all to give me an epidural now,
ASAP
now. And then you still gotta wait to get into your room.
Oh, that's the worst part. The waiting for the epidural while you're contracting, and they're getting worse and they're getting stronger, and you're like, y'all better make it here in time.
Please prep this thing.
Make it here in time.
So first you wait. They order it. Then you wait for them to come.
You got to wait for the anesthesiologist to be available.
To come, and then the anesthesiologist has to go through like the rundown of here's the paperwork, sign, you got to sign.
Sign the papers, Jamiris.
You meant that. Like meant it. I still hear it. Sign the papers, Jamiris. They got to go through all that. Then you watching them prep it.
Yeah.
Like,
and you're like while you're breathing through and you can feel the next contraction coming, right? So you like, it passes, and then like while they're getting everything ready, and they ask you to sign. It's like,
and then they have to wait for it to pass because you can't move.
Yeah,
you know, it's a huge needle.
Yep.
And for me, I wish my contractions weren't as bad because I thoroughly, even with the Ring of Fire, I enjoyed the experience of no epidural over an epidural. Yeah. It felt like it just felt like my legs went like
it was like jelly. Yeah.
As soon as they gave me the epidural, it just felt like my whole body just was like sunken into the bed. Mm-hmm. And then they're telling me to push. I didn't like that feeling. Like I just felt like numb. You know, I didn't like it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so baby's here.
Yes.
And
we derailed a little bit, but
yeah. And breastfeeding. Now we have to. Yeah. Well, okay, so and what I will say is, because there used to be a big debate about breastfeeding versus formula and what's better and what's listen, science is science. We know that. However, women that have to use formula, you're feeding your child, right?
Fed is best.
They're still nourished, right? Yeah. Exactly. Now we did breastfeed. We were able to breastfeed, thank God. Like the milk came in, no issues. But baby, listen, that latching, like learning how to latch your child properly, and you're
that first time, I'm still like, ooh,
girl.
After you get it, it's like, oh.
But remember, like your chest has to get used to being pulled. Yeah. With a strong suction.
Yeah.
So even if they're doing it right, like the tenderness that you feel after I'm gonna say the first day.
Yeah.
Like you're like, ooh.
You gotta put the
ointment.
The ointment, because it gets raw.
It does.
Yeah.
Like no one told me about that.
No one said like this is going to hurt.
And so I just kept going with my first because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then I was like, it got to the point I was like raw, bleeding, like crusting over, and I had to pump. You know, like I had to pump for a couple of weeks to let him heal.
But they also don't tell you about the engorgement. That thing is so painful.
Child.
When you first start breastfeeding and then your breasts fill with milk.
And they get hard.
Yeah. Like, pellets.
Yeah.
It feels like you can massage it to go to
and you're supposed to.
But
like you're supposed to massage it.
It hurts so bad.
It does.
I remember with my second being in the shower, letting the hot water run over it to like soften it up, and just like crying, like Keith, like, are you okay?
Right.
I'm like, no.
It hurts. Yeah.
It hurts so
feels
bad.
Like bricks inside of your chest.
One thing I didn't do with my first that I learned with my second is the Haka brand is awesome. They have colostrum tubes. So what I did was I started trying to harvest my colostrum before even Anaya came.
Okay.
So I had like all these little tubes of colostrum, which is it has like, extreme healing powers. The crusting over that she talked about with her breastfeeding, if you put that colostrum on there, it'll be healed in like a couple hours. I feel like no joke. It's really good.
Yeah, no, colostrum is like supernatural liquid.
With all the good nutrients, your antibodies,
all of it.
So when your kids get sick, I would break out the colostrum. So I had a good amount, and it lasted me. Anaya is 1 and some change, and I have a few more now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girl, pass me one of them colostrum. I ain't playing, because you ain't tell me that. You didn't tell me anything about those colostrum vials that you have.
Oh,
see how people hold out?
I wasn't trying to hold out.
Pass me one of them colostrum.
Clearly,
vials.
I just told the world. I said a few.
What's a few? Like 5?
No, like 3.
Oh,
like truly a few.
All right, I won't bother you then.
Right,
but you could have told me about it before.
Anyway. But no, you can use it for anything, like rashes.
No, seriously. Like I used to
scalp when you're,
and even breast milk, like even your breast milk, like when my kid, like when they would break out breast milk, rub it on there, and it would just
eczema.
Yeah, it would clear it up.
All of that.
Yeah.
So that's a tip for y'all.
Yep.
Don't forget it.
Yep.
Haka has great tubes, and you just start trying to use your breast pump, and you start trying to harvest it before they get here.
Now, what I will say is it's a schedule, right? So you're taking care of a little person, and then you have a schedule to get the milk out.
It's a job.
And you have to store it. It's a full-time, like it feels like a full-time job.
And
especially at first when you're pumping like every 2 to 3 hours.
Or breastfeeding. What I didn't understand, and what had me like distraught, was when you're finally at a point where you sleep, when you're sleep training your baby and they can sleep 5 hours at a time.
And you have to wake up and pump.
And you are like, oh, okay, well then I can sleep a little bit. I remember with my first child, my milk started drying up because I was sleeping when she slept. And no, you got to still keep your pumping schedule so that your milk doesn't dry up. You got to keep it going. You got to pump. You got to train your body to pump so that it still feels like you need the milk. Because if it doesn't, like, it literally will be a couple of days and your milk can start slowing down. And you're like, wait a minute, what's happening?
Right.
Nobody told me that.
That schedule, I'm telling you, is like, I just want to sleep.
Right.
Like the baby's quiet, the baby's down.
Breastfeeding is a job.
And there is nothing like, we've both been through this. There's nothing like if you finish pumping, you have them in, the little cups.
Oh, child.
And you spill one.
Child, that is soul crushing. Like, and when your husband does it,
like literal tears.
Like all you can do is be mad at yourself when you do it. But when your husband does it, you be like, bruh.
Do you know how hard I just worked for that milk? Like,
and you gonna spill it? Or my husband was a little like too loosey goosey with it. Like, oh, it's time for her to drink. No, give her another hour. She good.
Stretch it. Right. Don't just take a bag out and warm it up.
And then when they're feeding them too soon, they're not gonna want to drink all of it. So you're like, that's wasted milk.
Right. Now I gotta pump some more, sir. But yeah, like there's nothing like wasted milk. Nothing.
I mean, when I say liquid gold, don't
play with it. Saw me break down a few times over spilled milk. Yeah.
Like tears.
Yeah.
Like real ones. And that probably is a little bit of hormones, but
listen.
But there was some validity in the right.
And then so we've also both gone through this, right? So you talk about your hormones and everything shifting. Child, these edges.
Yeah. Yep.
These edges, I don't think they've ever been. I don't think they've completely gotten back to what they used to be after having 3 kids.
Oh, mine for sure haven't. Yeah. I mean, I know that you guys have all noticed that I wear hats in all of our tapings or recordings, but that's because Motha is only a year and some change out from having her baby, and I'm trying to get these edges all the way back.
Right. I will say,
don't judge me for these hats because it's the postpartum shedding, and people don't tell you this, but you might experience it more than once. Like for me, with Anaya and Amina, around the 2 to 3, 4 month mark, I had a bad shedding,
and then it slows down,
and then it comes back. Then when I stopped breastfeeding both of them, I had a bad shedding, and then it slows down. So like when your hormones are like going up and down, the breastfeeding not versus your hair could, very well shed, and some people don't even experience it, God's favorite, but for me and you,
not God's favorite. But I will say, I feel like that's on the rare side, like where people don't experience shedding. Now I will say everything's relative because I'm looking at your edges like, girl, you got plenty of edges.
Okay. It's like,
plenty of edges.
It's like,
and they're going to be like,
it's coming back.
It's all relative, child. Because I would slick them things on down.
Well, that's another thing, too. I don't want to put too much tension on it because I'm trying to get them to grow back, you know? So the everyday slicking ain't good.
It ain't got to be every day.
All right. Well, y'all going to get these hats for a little bit more, a little longer until these edges are.
But yeah, so hair shedding is definitely a real thing. And it can be alarming at first because you see like a lot of hair and you're like, wait a minute.
Clump. I mean, I filled up with Amina the first shedding I had a full trash plastic bag,
a
full one. It was all hair.
Yeah.
And I remember
that's traumatizing in itself.
It is traumatizing.
Yeah.
I remember being in the bathroom and Keith and Amina walking back. This was when she was 4 months, walking back to the bathroom and me just having like a crying breakdown moment. And y'all, I feel like God knew I needed this. This was the first time she laughed.
Oh.
I looked up and I made some kind of noise and it made her laugh. I still have the video.
Okay.
But like I'm literally was like breaking down in tears. And she started laughing and I was like, I needed this.
Oh.
I needed you.
That reminds me of that meme when it's like mom having a mental breakdown. They walk up, can I have a snack?
Can I have a snack?
No. I'm barely
I'm holding it together the best I can, and all you want is a snack.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then so last but not least, and there's definitely more.
Yeah.
But child, that snapback
before we move on to that, the only thing I would say with hair shedding, make sure you continue to take your prenatal vitamins. after
I mean,
after
and I'm
you have the
talking
baby.
about
like, I mean, I'm
2
still
years
taking them
after,
now.
right?
I had my baby a year and some change ago. I think I hit my mic. Sorry, y'all. And I still take prenatal vitamins. Low manipulation on your hair, especially for whatever reason, you tend to lose more
around
of
the
it
edges,
around the edges of your
Yep.
hair. And so low manipulation. I actually use some breast milk on my edges, you know.
And castor oil is another good one.
Oil.
Yeah.
And once your shedding kind of subsides, lightly start massaging your scalp, you know, twice a week. So things like that can help with the stimulation of
and iron, because iron is something that we lose, right? Just naturally as women, very easily. So just make sure you're taking more iron than what's recommended for, you know, a woman that doesn't have a baby or hasn't had a child.
I would recommend on that front liquid iron.
Yes. Yep.
So that it can absorb
it can absorb quicker and more. Because I think you absorb like 30% of pills.
Yep. So those are helpful tips.
Yep. Okay. Thanks for the tips, sis.
You too.
I mean, but you pulled us into that, you know. Anyway.
Motha knows. Motha knows.
Girl, this new body. Yaddy.
That's another thing. I think you have an idea about the fact that, you know, your body is going to shift and change. But we all have that, you know, we all have that thought that we're going to all snap it back. And you have to get used to the idea that your body is a new body.
Yeah.
It can snap back.
It can.
But it's not going to go back to what it was.
Well, I'm going to say, Ari, okay, so let me say this. With breastfeeding, I think that's another tip, right? Or that's something that we can mention is like with breastfeeding, you will lose the weight quicker with breastfeeding because you're burning way more calories, right? Because you're generating milk and your body's working. Yep. So with all three of mine, actually, like I dropped my weight really quickly because for whatever reason, my body like just generates milk a lot. Like it generates a lot of it. I'm probably one of those oversupplied people. Now, same
for me with Amina.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I was working out all during my pregnancy.
I didn't.
I think that helped. I would say, please, y'all, like keep moving while you're pregnant.
Yeah.
Because it does help you snap back too. Like, I mean, I literally, after Amina, I think it was like 12 days or so. And I felt like I was kind of like back to where I wanted to be almost.
So I wish I would have done that because even though I dropped the weight quickly because of breastfeeding, then when it slows down, right, the breastfeeding slows down, you start to see like the metabolism is starting to slow on down too, and those pounds starting to come back. So I think that working out while I was, you know, trying to work out anyway, trying to find the time.
Yeah, it's hard.
To work out. I feel like
the best you can.
When the breastfeeding slowed down and my weight started to come back, like I would have been more toned and my body would have resisted that, you know, like the weight coming back. Yeah. But the new body that you have after a child is not even just about toning.
It's not about
weight. Your skin changes.
Right.
I remember calling you a mommy with Ariana, my first.
Yeah.
And being like, y'all, I made it to 8 months. I made it to 8 months. I made it to 8 months without seeing one line on my stomach.
Yeah, yeah.
And when I saw that line, I was like, and when I say line, we're talking about stretch marks. Like when I saw that stretch mark, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
I was devastated, you know, like I'm oiling up, like, you know, and now I know like the process in which I was doing it wasn't the absolute, you know, I should have been moisturizing with water and then oil, right? I was just oiling up, like, girl, I was devastated.
Yeah.
Like
I saw an amazing quote. It was like, stretch marks are your child's love letter to you.
Yeah.
You know, I think stretch marks are a beautiful thing, you know, especially when you know like what your body has done to create this incredible life. You know, it expanded in ways that you couldn't even fathom it would, and then retract it back. You know, it's doing such a beautiful service for you and really navigating you through this great journey. So I don't want to, you know, like, but I think we all. I mean, it's natural.
Yeah, like it's natural as a woman.
It's
like
natural as a woman.
It was never there before.
It wasn't there before. You didn't want it there before.
Right.
And then you get them. So like, again, it's a beautiful journey and a beautiful thing that, you know, your body was able to do this thing. And it may sound a little shallow, but I did not want stretch marks. I just did it.
Because again, it wasn't there before.
Right.
Like that wasn't my body before.
Right.
And so now I have to get used to seeing a new body after I have, these children, and I have to get used to seeing that in the mirror.
It's a
it's a mental like shift.
Yeah. It's
about your body
right,
that you've seen.
It's an acceptance that you have shifted, you've changed, you've grown in a way. You know, you've expanded. And it's going to be a little different.
And it took me a while to get, like, to get, like, to accept it, you know, like, Lord, like, God, you could have just, but now it's just like, okay.
This is my new body.
It's my new body, right? Yeah.
And look at the 3 things that it did, you know, like
that it gave me.
It gave me these incredible beings.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you know, that's a minor sacrifice.
Child, it didn't feel minor, but okay.
It didn't. And I am here to acknowledge that it does not feel minor because, again, you're not used to it.
Exactly.
But, you know, when you put it all in perspective,
in the back,
you know,
hindsight,
on the back end.
Yeah.
The other thing with relearning your body is understanding that, you know, I talked about it a little bit, but like, you know, you might laugh and a little something might squirt out, you know, like you gotta train your muscles.
Got to do those exercises, those Kegels.
Right. Diastasis recti.
Yep,
you know, that's another thing. You know, you have to be careful about exercising.
And the types of exercises
that you do, like during your pregnancy, and then that 6 weeks postpartum when they say no exercise, it really should stay away from exercise because you just push out a human being. Your stomach is going back down.
Exactly.
And it's like your muscles.
Let your body do
your muscles were shifted.
Yeah. Let your body do what it needs
naturally
to do.
Like
it doesn't need you to like crunch and do because you're it's counterproductive. Yeah.
Like crunching while your stomach is that loose in that week.
Yeah.
You're
it's just
basically
separating it
creating
even more.
a bigger gap in your muscles. That's basically what I mean when I say diastasis recti. So it literally is it's shifting your muscles and
you further apart.
I've seen people whose issue is like you could put 2 hands in between the gap. It's bad, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think women, but also Black women don't get the postpartum care.
No,
and
they
just
don't.
In general, the prenatal and postpartum care that we need. So a lot of times women don't understand or know that you shouldn't be doing.
And then like
things.
Snapback culture, like, you know, you'll have social media. It's like, oh, look, like I snapped. And it's like,
because don't get me wrong, your girl was happy to snap back.
I was too. I ain't gonna lie. Like because I can't even give credit to myself. Like I'm just giving credit to God that you gave me the genetics that I needed.
Yeah.
Right.
But that culture can, you know, it can drive an unhealthy idea of what it looks like.
Of how long it takes, of what it looks like, of what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So just, you know, take the time to, again, learn your new body, appreciate it for what it's giving you, right? Because it is a blessing. And it's a process.
And be kind and gracious to yourself. It is, I try to put into words how much of a miraculous, incredible experience it is to give birth to a child.
Yep.
And then on the back end to see the fruits of the fruits of your labor, the fruits of what your body has done for you. It's incredible. So just be kind to yourself.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So with all of that in mind, I feel like this discussion, the postpartum discussion, right? All of the layers that come into it. I think we talked about depression. We did talk about depression. So yeah, so just all the layers and aspects that come with postpartum, just making sure that, you know, we're just, honestly, I think we're just trying to do our part to educate, right? Women that are going to be new mothers, that are new mothers, that this is just a natural part of having a child and bringing life into the world.
Yeah. This is kind of our form of love on our new mamas, you know, like hoping that they understand that there are going to be things that you have to navigate that are going to be difficult, but you have resources out there, you know, hopefully, you know, you have a good village around you, you know, just to get you through those tough times. And also remember too, there was a study that came out in 2021, the postpartum experience can last up to 7 years.
Yeah.
So again, I know we live in a society that pushes you back into work and pushes you back into normalcy, but it looks different for everybody.
Normalcy.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. It's okay. But I love the awareness for new moms. Also, too, those that husbands, friends, whatever, relatives, making sure that you also have the education and information that you need to be there for women that are going through this process. Because to your point, 7 years, if you're wondering why, okay, I'm still dealing with some things. I'm still like, why? It could be that long. And so it's important that you have a good doctor, that you have, a good support system. And it's not just for the new mom to know this, it's for everyone to know this so that we can provide the support that she needs in this process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful. Please let us know what you think in the comments. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And this is Motha Knows. So we can be found at Motha_knows on Instagram, and then Motha Knows Co on TikTok and YouTube. All right. We'll see y'all later.